The children of the water god. Long ago, all the water was in one place, and it belonged to the water god. The water god owned all of it, and he liked having it to himself. But soon people arrived on the earth, and they came to the water god, and they asked him if they could have some of his water. They said, "Please, water god, we need some of your water for our families. Our children need it to drink, and we need it to wash, and we need it for our crops and for our animals." And the water god, who liked keeping all the water to himself, said, "No, this is my water. I won't share it." But they pleaded with him, and they said, "If we don't have water, we will surely die." And the water god relented, and he said, "All right, you may have 1 bucket a day, but that is all." And so the people came every evening with their buckets, and they scooped up the water from the water's edge, whilst the water god stood and watched and checked. They took only their fair share. Time passed. The people had children. The people's children had children, and soon there were many, many more people on the earth. Families were enormous, and they came to the water god and they said, "We need more water. We cannot survive on just 1 bucket a day. Please give us more of your water, water god." But the water god didn't like sharing. And he said, "No, 1 bucket a day, I said, and that's all you shall have." Well, the people met together. They couldn't survive on 1 bucket a day. So they met together and they discussed what they were going to do, and they sent their quietest and their quickest men down to the river at night to steal buckets of extra water. They crept down in the darkness, hid behind rocks all the way, and when the water god wasn't looking, they leapt out and scooped up an extra bucket of water and took it back for their families. And so this went on for some time. But the water god became suspicious. He knew something was up, so he came to watch. And when he came to the water's edge one night, he caught them running in the darkness to grab and steal his water. And his anger rose up like a tsunami. "From now on, you shall have none." And he sent for his daughter Eva and for his son Con to come and guard the water so that the people couldn't get to any more. Well, Eva was a kind-hearted girl, and Con, he was a cool-hearted, cool boy, and they stood by the water's edge and they guarded so that the water god could rest and know that his water was safe. Well, the people met together and they said, "We will have to go and ask them for the water. Maybe they will have gentler hearts than the water god." First they tried Con, and they said, "Oh, Con, please give us some of your water. We need it for our children to drink and to wash, and for our crops and for our animals. Without it, we'll surely die." And Con said, "My father said you can't have any." And he turned his back and he said, "Sorry, I can't give you any." And so they went to Eva, warm-hearted, kind-hearted Eva, and they said, "Eva, please, you can see our children are dying. They're thirsty. We need water." And Eva's heart hurt with the worry she had for the people. She sent them away and she said, "I'll think about it. Come back tomorrow." So Eva turned to Con and she said, "I have a plan, brother. I have a plan. We could get the water to the people and Father will never know." Con said, "Tell me." So she whispered in his ear. And she told him how they were going to play a game. They were going to play a game and the water would creep over the land without her father ever knowing. So the next day they began. Eva scooped up the water in her warm hands and she blew on it with her warm breath, and it turned to invisible water vapour in the air and rose up into the sky and was gone. "Jump up now," she said. "Jump up, Con." And Con jumped up high into the sky and he blew on the water vapour with his cold breath, and it became water droplets hanging in the sky as a cloud, and he blew the cloud over the land. And as the cloud rose up over the mountain tops, it began to rain, and the rain trickled down the mountainside At first it was just a tiny trickle, but the trickles joined and became a stream, and soon there was a bubbling river running past the town, and the people saw and they heard the water running, and they grabbed their buckets and they ran out and they scooped up the water, and there was enough for everyone. And so this continued for some time. Eva, blowing on the water with her warm breath, turning it into invisible water vapour. Con jumping up, turning it back into water droplets in a cloud and pushing it over the land. And the water god saw them playing. He said, "What are you doing?" "Nothing, Father," they said. "It's just a game, it's just a game." But he watched. He watched and he began to understand, and he saw the rain falling on the land, and he saw the rivers flowing down, and he saw the people with their buckets, and he was angry. "I told you not to give them any water," he said, rising up out of the sea in a great wave. And Eva pleaded with her father, "But Father, look, just look what happens. The rain comes down, turns into a stream. The people use the water, but it all comes back into your water in the end. You don't lose any. It just goes round and comes back. They only borrow it for a little while. And we've made up a song. Shall I sing you my song, Father?" she said, as she saw his heart begin to soften. It goes like this. "Blow the water high, vapour in the sky, cool it down to rain, fall to earth again. From the ocean vapour, clouds then rain, flow back to the sea again. Not a drop is lost, it just goes round and round again." And when the water god saw how much Eva cared, and when the water god saw that his water did indeed come back, his heart softened and he relented, and he said, all right, you carry on, my children." And that is how the water has always reached the land, and that is how it will always be.